guys our BBL Season 7 Showdown Division draft analysis. Now, we're in the Arceus division this time around. For those of you guys who don't know, BBL Showdown this time did 3 divisions just like we did in Season 5 with Arceus, Savali, and Type Null. Last time we did BBL Showdown on the channel, it was on my old channel, and 2, it was in BBL Savali. We're in BBL Arceus this time around. We're definitely one of the weaker coaches in the division, but I personally feel like we just barely snubbed in. Like bottom 4 for sure. I don't know where I would personally put myself. That's for other people to decide. But I feel like I definitely am in the bottom 4 player wise for sure in this division. It'll be a rough season, I think. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy though. Follow me on Twitch, link down below. We do the games live. We'll be doing uploads on Thursdays because I've been doing a lot of the streams on Wednesdays, and I felt like that way then it's not gonna be just double BBL games up on Thursdays every week. I felt like that was the best way to do it. So with that said though, I'm not going to spoil obviously any game results here, but we've already played through the first 2 weeks as of this video going live. We literally played our week 2 yesterday actually, but I did still want to upload my season obviously, so you know, we'll be a bit behind, but it's going to be on pace with Wi-Fi. It's just I've been playing my games really early in the week, so yeah. So with that said though, hopefully you guys do enjoy it, and with that said, let's get into the draft itself. So I did make some free agents, and the free agent video will be coming out after the week 1 game next week. Somewhere probably on Saturday, probably on Sunday if I had to guess. But yeah, so this draft, a lot of it did change after week 1. I noticed a few errors in the draft when building that I could have probably done a bit better. To be fair, some of them I noticed in the draft, during the draft, that I couldn't afford anymore, which definitely sucked. And I'll get into that in a bit, probably around round 7, I'll get into that, because it did really change up my plan, to say the least. But I do still kind of like the team, at least. I liked the team before. I like the team after free agents a lot, though. But first up, we had our first pick. We had 13th overall, as I mentioned in the Wi-Fi draft analysis. And I actually decided, because of what was left and because of what Uber I felt pretty confident I was able to get, especially after talking with a few people who did not have Ubers at this point, to put it in perspective, looking at the draft for Arceus, at this current point, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people out of 12 people with Ubers. I knew what Brown was getting for his Uber Core because I was helping Brown with his team. I knew what Josh was getting with his Uber Core because him and I talked about what we were getting. And I knew what Shoot was getting for his Uber Core because Burgo told me what Shoot was looking for. So I knew for a fact no one could snipe me on my Uber, actually. So I did not get my Uber until the very last round. I'm going to mention that right now. First up, we got BBL Legend itself, Garchomp. So Garchomp, of the non-Ubers, is one of the highest performing Pokemon in BBL history. I believe for non-Ubers, it rests... I believe it's the 3rd highest for non-Ubers. I'll have to go over that at some point. But I don't think Burger's finished the doc yet. So, not anytime in the very immediate future. But for the kill leaders, looking at the doc, Garchomp rests at 9th overall. And in terms of non-Ubers, it is the 4th highest. With Mew, Zeraora, and Megalop in that order from 3rd to 1st, passing it. So Garchomp has a really strong history in BBL. It's also just a really good Pokemon, obviously having the 102 speed, outpacing just barely a lot of box arts, and a lot of the box arts it does outpace are dragons, which is very helpful. Garchomp being a solid rocker, the ground dragon type offensively is just amazing. So I feel like Garchomp will be a really easy Pokemon to build around in this season. So yeah, I felt like Garchomp was a really strong first pick. It paired really well with, I'll spoil it right now, we're getting Mega Lucario as our Uber. Mega Lucario has almost never went in BBL, even before we upped our allow list. So I felt pretty confident that we could safely get Garchomp. So I didn't really worry that much about getting Garchomp at this point in the draft. And yeah, Garchomp's name is going to be Gargura. I felt like that fit really well, because, you know, Garchomp's a shark, and Gura's a cat. So, on to our next pick. We got ourselves Weavile. I felt pretty confident in getting Weavile next as well. 125 speed. I usually do a pretty bad job at getting speed in BBL. It's been historically proven. I usually get pretty shitty speed options. Besides, this season for both divisions, I actually did a good job at that because I prioritized that. But yeah, I wanted Weavile though. I feel like the Weavile did just really well against a lot of different Ubers. It's a strong dark type, able to pressure things like Psychic Stove, etc., which a lot of the top Pokemon are. Things like Mega Gengar, Lunala, etc. Mewtwo's. I should obviously mention Mewtwo's. Calyrex Ice. To be fair, Calyrex Ice can take a hit pretty well from this, but it's not going to want to switch in repeatedly. So yeah, we do have obviously a really strong dark type right here. I felt like it's helped a lot against side spam as well, which was a definitely possible option to say the least. I didn't see anyone have it, to be fair, but everyone's only one pick in besides a couple people. So no real way to tell that at this point. But I did feel like this did help a lot with our team so far. Especially if we were going around Mega Lucario, I needed a really good Psychic killer. And I needed a good Ghost killer as well, so that way Mega Lucario, with both those types cleared, could just spam close combat pretty freely. So I felt like Weavile was probably as good as it got there. Next up on the team, we got ourselves round 3 Gothitelle. Now, Gothitelle, you might be wondering why it's so high and why I got it round 3. And that's a good question. Those are both very good questions. Gothitelle, in my opinion, is a very, very disgusting trapper, especially in the Ubers format. It's able to trap a lot of box art because a lot of the box arts do not actually get momentum. Things like Ho, for example, Groudon, Kyurem forms, all those Pokemon don't actually have momentum. And they're all very free Pokemon for this to trap. Groudon, for example, has to worry about Grass Knots, and I'm only mentioning that because I played my Week 2 game against Groudon already, so I can just freely mention that. Gets you killed by Grass Knot if you're max HP. Pretty easy to invest for that, too. In terms of stuff like Kyurem, for example, you could obviously trick on like a Lagging Tail and then just go for Psychic, or even just go for Trick Room, for example, or like Toxic sets. Rest Talk, for example, with Cosmic Power. Cosmic Power especially is a common, really good Goth set, or just like a Charm Flatter set, so you could lower the offense of your opponent that you're trying to stall out, and they have more PP as well. So Gothitelle in general has a lot going for it, in my opinion. You need to be a very patient player to play with Goth, and I feel like at least when it comes to Gothitelle specifically, I can definitely do that. I'm not going to act like I play patiently with every single Pokemon, but Gothitelle I feel like I've proven even in other BBL seasons to be very good with. For example, Season 4, when I did my minor season, for when we had 2 divisions that season, I felt like I used Gothitelle really, really well as Zekrom, and I felt like that it only paired better with Mega Lucario, because Gothitelle's still a Pokemon that can definitely trap Psychics pretty easily. Not a lot of Psychics really want to pressure Gothitelle. To be fair, a few of them definitely can now pivot out pretty freely on Goth, because Teleport, things like Slowbro and Slowking, for example, are a couple of really good ones. But Gothitelle is still a really good option to trap Psychics, so don't get it twisted. Just because Teleport doesn't mean that it's not a good Psychic trapper, because there are a lot of Psychics that still don't get Teleport. Things like Reuniclus, for example. There's obviously Glowking, the mon that everyone fawns over, doesn't get Teleport, and can definitely get trapped by the Gothitelle. So stuff like that, Gothitelle does help a lot with as well, in terms of even just non-Ubers. So I felt like this Pokemon was very, very reliable on our draft, especially knowing that we were clinched Mega Lucario at this point. Because even if Brad wanted to, he couldn't take Mega Lucario because he already got Ray. Josh at this point, again, I knew his Ubers. In this same round, he actually got Ashgrad, so he also no longer could. So again, I felt pretty confident that I could actually guarantee Mega Lucario. The only person that could really snipe me was Shoot, but again, Shoot wanted Zekrom, so I was pretty certain that I was getting Mega Lucario. Next up on the team, we got ourselves another Pokemon. This Pokemon ended up being Sylveon. If anyone knows me, they know I love Sylveon. Sylveon's one of my favorite Pokemon to use in BBL history. Really reliable fairy type. I'll gush over this Pokemon for years, to be completely honest. I will defend this Pokemon to the day I die. I think it is a phenomenal fairy. Now I will say, I will spoil real quick, I have not brought it yet actually. In 2 games I have not brought Sylveon yet, which is really weird. Typically I usually bring Sylveon like nearly every game in BBL, so I thought that was very surprising to say the least, but I thought it was kind of funny to mention. I do still think there's a very reliable fairy to kill things such as, of course, dragons, which are one of the most dominant types in the format. I also thought it was a really good Wish Passer for things like Gothitelle, for example, Garchomp and Swell, and a couple other Pokemon we got later on that I figured I was at least going to be getting. So I felt like this was a really good option here, personally. Sylveon, of course, as well, having momentum with Baton Pass, able to be a slow pivot into Mega Lucario. I thought it was pretty nice, especially since our second type does not have Teleport. I thought that was a very good thing to gun after. It's currently our only momentum option as well. You'll notice I do not get a lot of other momentum options on this draft, which is why I made free agents. It was really the only gripe I had with my team, actually, was I did not have a lot of good pivots in Mega Lucario. Otherwise, I really liked the draft. It was just, that was a huge issue, so I had to fix that. So yeah, Sylveon, though, I do still think was a great option here. I obviously kept Sylveon because why wouldn't I? And yeah, next up on the team, we got ourselves Spectrier. With Mega Lucario, I felt like Spectrier was a very phenomenal option, especially with Gothitelle as well. Goth can trap normals. Mega Lucario makes normals literally never want to come, ever. So, Spectrier I thought was a very free option here. Base 130 speed, as I mentioned, I really wanted to get my speed this time around. And Spectrier is a great option because it ties with Pokemon like Mewtwo, Mega Gengar, outpaces things like Marshadow, for example. So it's a much more reliable option around those really fast Psychics and Ghosts that Weavile might not necessarily outpace and want to damage. Now, Weavile could technically run a Scarf, but it doesn't really ever want to do that. It's more so there to stop the Psychics and Ghosts from wanting to switch in because I can pick off other Pokemon. Whereas Spectrier can just outpace them. And Spectrier is a Pokemon that is a lot more easily able to run a Scarf because of its ability Grim Neigh. So I feel like this is a really good pick here. Obviously, again, no momentum to bring it in, which was definitely a big issue with the team. But I did still feel like that this was a very good option here, to say the least. I felt like Spectre did offer a lot to our draft in terms of just the ghost typing offensively. It helps just with Mega Lucario, it helps with even just killing Ghost or Goth, to be fair, because this does outpace pretty much every ghost in the game, and the ones it doesn't, it could just Scarf. But to be fair, I'm pretty sure the only ghost it doesn't outpace it ties, but I might be missing a couple. In general, though, this is definitely one of the fastest ghosts you can get, to be fair. And yeah, looking at ghosts, though, I did pull them up. Dragapult does outpace, I completely forgot about that, but otherwise we tie or outpace every single ghost. So, still very good. Dragapult doesn't usually want to run a Scarf, to be fair, and I don't know why you would run a Scarf for Dragapult for Spectre. But yeah, Spectre actually can kind of afford a Scarf, to be fair, so it is actually a pretty good Scarf, in my opinion, for this team. Garchomp is as well, but we do get a couple other good Scarfers in the draft later on. But yeah. So, round 6, this is where I realized, after this pick, I realized I couldn't get the Pokemon I really, really wanted, Porygon 2, because I got this Pokemon, which was very unfortunate. I got myself Moltres, and I kind of jumped the gun on it, but I still do think it was a very good fit for the team. But, obviously, with the Pokemon we currently have, this pretty much was a death sentence for Porygon 2 in this draft, because with with things like Weavile, for example, really, really big budget sponges, same as things like Gothitelle, I currently, with this plan, I believe that I only had 11 points left, if I remember correctly. It was either like 11 or 10 or something really, really low. And I had a few things I desperately needed. So, sadly, this did hurt our budget a lot. I really needed things like a water killer right now. I needed a really good ground switch in, because Moltres is not a good ground switch in. It's a good ground immunity, but it's not a good ground switch in. Moltres does still offers a lot, though. It's, for one, our first removal option. Two, it's a nice pivot. It's currently our second best pivot on the team. It's currently our second pivot on the team. I thought like a fire tip as well could be very appreciated for killing things like grasses, for example, for Garchomp. And yeah, that was really a big thing. I felt like a Moltres as well with Flame Body Burns could be important as like a nice sack piece, potentially, depending on the Pokemon we're against. In general, though, it's not a Pokemon I think will do phenomenal, but I think it was definitely like a useful Pokemon, to say the least. Yeah, there's not a lot to say about Moltres. I kind of regretted the pick, to be honest, after making it, but I do still think it was a good pick here. I did still actually keep Moltres because I found a way to make it work really well. But yeah, did definitely regret it because it meant I couldn't get Porygon 2, so it did hurt a lot for the draft total. Next up on the team, we got ourselves some Empoleon. Empoleon was basically my way to roll compress a lot of things for our draft. For example, it was a water type, which was great because we really didn't need an ice switch in right now. Our only ice switch in was Weavile at this point. It also gives us this nice steel type, which currently, Weavile and Mega Lucario being our only steel type isn't really a good switch into fairies, so I did want that as well. Gives us a much more reliable default option than Moltres, because Empoleon could actually justifiably come to a lot of games, especially looking at our schedule. I felt like that looking at a lot of the top Pokemon, even just Empoleon could justifiably come against more of the drafts than Moltres could. And then obviously with our schedule, Empoleon only can come to more of those games. I will say as well, when I mentioned the 11 points thing, I completely forgot Empoleon because I was looking at the Pokemon I dropped, which, spoilers, the next 3 Pokemon I did drop all of. But I do like Empoleon a lot here. I think it actually fits really well. I'm not a huge Empoleon person, but I do like Piplup a lot in Little Cup, at least this generation, so I figured maybe Empoleon will be a better Pokemon this time around. Next pick on the team, we got ourselves Go-Go. Go-Go and I dropped, sadly, very, very unfortunate. I won't mention what I dropped it for yet. I'll mention that in the free agent video, so make sure to check that out next week. But Go-Go, I thought it was a really good ground switch in here. As I said, I really needed one, and for 3 points, this was probably as good as it got. For all the cheap grasses, actually, that I could afford, this is, like, really as good as it got. So I feel like this is a really important option to have here. As I said, this is also a good water killer, but to be fair, it's not a great water switch in because it is still physical grass, which is very unfortunate because my team really, really hates Scald as well. The 2 biggest issues with my team were it hates switching in on Scald, and it hates bringing in Mega Lucario. Those were the 2 big issues I had with my draft. Otherwise, I liked it a lot. To be fair, I will say that in post-draft PRs, I definitely think I rated a bit higher than I thought it was. And then when I played Sam, I realized just how bad my team was. I think that in hindsight, I would have probably put my team around like 9th or 10th. But yeah, in general though, I do still like the Go-Go pick. I think it was a fine pick, but I think I found a better grass for what my team needed. Next on the team, we got ourselves Regieleki. Another pick I regretted. I would have much rather had a slow pivot. Luckily, again, I got my Porygon 2 later. That's the only free agent I will mention because it was very relevant to this plan, and it was a mon that I knew I wanted, but could not get. But Regieleki I thought was still a cool option with Goth. I could trap grounds and then just massacre them, and then also going through teams after the ground is killed especially with trapping a Goth and having Go-Go as a switch-in, and Weavile as a killer, and even Empoleon as an offensive killer, but to be fair, not a switch-in. I feel like I had good coverage for grounds, but I really didn't like the Regieleki because I had no way to really bring a big Lucario with it. It was still a cool spin option, but again, didn't really like it on the team after building for literally 1 week. So I'm not going to go too much on it. Dunsparce, I will actually say I liked this on the team a lot. For a 2-point normal, and it gave me rocks as well. I thought it was a good pick. But again, I like Porygon 2 a lot more, so I did free agent for Porygon 2. Really, the theme of this team is I got Porygon 2, and I got a few other Pokemon I'll save for the free agent video. Finally, obviously Mega Lucario. Now, Mega Lucario was a Platinum mover, and I guess I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but I'll take the time real quick to mention the system, because it was very different from the Wi-Fi system. If you guys have been following BBL for several seasons now, for seasons 2 through 6, we had the Ubers budget. For Wi-Fi, for Showdown for season 7, because of how many Ubers we had, Burgo wanted to test something, and I felt like it was a very interesting system to test. We did a Platinum, Gold, Silver system, which basically was you could either draft 1 Platinum Uber, 1 Gold Uber, 1 Silver Uber, a Gold and a Silver Uber, or 2 Silvers. Now, you literally only hurt yourself doing a single Gold or a Silver, but if you did a Gold-Silver pair, it's very free because there's no Golds or Silvers that are illegal pairs together, so everything in Gold and Silver paired fried. Platinums were guaranteed Soul Ubers, but I felt like Mega Lucario was still, objectively speaking, as good as it got. Mega Lucario, I would argue, is like a top 10 Pokemon in this format. I don't know why it gets sucked on so much, but I think it is, objectively speaking, one of the best Pokemon you could have drafted. And I was very shocked to see it get to be at 13th. I would put it pretty highly. I would put Lunala, Marshadow, Veltal, Xerneas, Mewtwo all above it. But I would probably put Mega Lucario like very, very close behind them, in my opinion. You can maybe make a case for stuff like Zekrom as well, or Cali Ice and Arceus Dark and Poison. But I would still probably put Mega Lucario as like the 6th or 7th best Pokemon in the format, let alone for the cost. But I did like this Pokemon a lot, personally. The Steel typing offensively is really, really valuable because I will force things like Scarf and Xerneas, which is very, very nice because not having to deal with the Calm Mind or Respect Xerneas is so much more valuable here. Also, the fact that this pays a lot of box arts. Hitting the 112 mark is great, has really good priority options as well, and adaptability makes things like Vacuum Wave, Bullet Punch only that much more detrimental because they hit as hard as E-Speed does, keep in mind. E-Speed obviously having a +2 priority is great, but having a base 80 priority option for +1 is still really nice. So, Mega Lucario also having 145 attack and 140 special attack, this is a really good mixed Uber. I felt like it was a very good Uber in general to draft, and the fighting Steel typing offensively is just so fucking gross. So yeah, I think Mega Lucario is great. I don't think I drafted that well around it, but I think my free agents actually made the team pretty good. With that said, week 1 we're going to take on Ice-Boldium. Week 1, we take the Xerneas team on, which is why I mentioned that specifically. So hopefully you guys do enjoy that. And with that said, I will see you guys next week for that. Until then, peace out, guys.